today is why don't you introduce yourself to everybody, Jessica?
Well, I apologize. What a way to make an entrance. I swear. So I'm Jessica Benoit. I'm a senior strategist on our worldwide strategist organization with AWS. I'm actually coming from the domain side of sustainability, coming from manufacturing and industrial over the past 10, 15 years, really working in sustainability, sustainable strategies, and really helping kind of create product development, material sciences, R&D. So coming to the tech side, it's really fun to see this kind of all come together.
Well, welcome, and thank you for joining us today. It's how apropos, for Earth Day to be able to talk a little bit more about sustainability. So we have this title today, Transparency, Decarbonization, Sustainability Transformation. But I think we need to kind of break that down a little bit, Jessica, and simplify here.
Yeah.
So maybe you can help me.
Happy to. So, a little bit about what we want to share today is kind of taking what Hillary had started chatting about. She chatted about the STAT program and, accelerating, transformation. And I'm kind of here kind of following that of, what are the ways that we can connect data and use cloud as, the technology to enable sustainability within this broad responsibility within organizations. And so with that, and I've got my screen up here just to kind of show some of the things that we look at. So when we're thinking about, transitioning, with the demand of environmental progress, on the rise, organizations are transforming operating models. They're looking to incorporate like sustainability and drive thought leadership and really redefining ways that help address product design, sourcing, and kind of everything else. So technology itself can be that key enabler for accelerating. So that's whether that's adoption of renewable energy to kind of power the systems or to transfer from on-premise to the cloud. IoT sensors and AI can also help optimize, improving effectiveness, or even digitalization itself can promote transparency and accountability. So it's kind of this larger story of how can we look at ways to leverage cloud technology to drive not just kind of the how we operate, but really how we look at things, how we analyze things, how we make decisions, and kind of taking data and connecting it all together.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. I think that we've talked to a couple folks today. I mean, you mentioned our conversation with Hillary as well, but also our earlier conversation with Sudeep. It's all about using and taking that data and how we can use that in the cloud. I mean, I think a lot of times people think that there's so much data, but it's how to use and transform that data into usable bits for everybody, right? Particularly in the sustainability space. And apparently this afternoon, Kyle, I'm having some trouble speaking. But,
that's fine. Yeah. We should have made a bingo card for the different words we're going to be using throughout the day. And the free square could have been Kyle says a dad joke or Art kills his plant.
Which I forgot my dad joke book. I mean, I had it. It was on my shelf for my husband. I was hearing that the jokes come up and I was going to be all ready, but I think he took the book away from me.
That's fine.
It's all right. Kyle has tons of them, Jessica. Right. And the problem is I know no answers to dad jokes. And I laugh at all of them still too, either as a,
Well, you know how a joke is a dad joke, right?
Oh boy, here we go. No, I don't.
The punchline's apparent.
I'm gonna have to go acquire some children, so I get better at this. All right. Going forward, so we talked a lot here already, Jessica, about how we use how we need to use data for sustainability, and talk a little bit more about that. So maybe you can talk today how sustainability may serve as an accelerator to help move common business practices forward, and how we can use some of this data and transform some of the data to help move people's business practices forward as well.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important to, one thing that we always like to, when we're talking with customers, we always kind of like to take a step back and take away a little bit of the intensity or the, fear of, sustainability it's broad topic. The subjectivity around it is huge, and it can be a lot for organizations that are taking this on, depending upon where they're at in their journey. So we really like to kind of take a step back and be able to say, like, this isn't independent from common business challenges. You can look to accelerate your sustainability objectives. You can drive impact by leveraging some of the data points that you have today, or some of the efforts and activities and initiatives that you're doing through your systems, whether it's through any of your MRP data or SCADA data, any of those ingestion points. So what we like to do is think about all these different layers that kind of come into play. And I think we talked about open data previously. So if it's standards regulations, you're looking at the sustainability requirements or impact opportunities. They're common initiatives. So if it's financial models, or looking at technical properties of a material or packaging specs, all of these have metrics around them, and you're capturing it in various forms through various teams. And so then we kind of break it down in these layers of where does the data exist, where does the ingestion of that data occur, and then what does the data need to look like on the output side. So are there specific disclosures and frameworks? Are there different formats? What needs to be cleansed and processed and normalized to really drive data-driven insights and actions in a single pane of glass? And that's really what we're
kind of taking something.
Yeah.
Could you define something for us? You used the term MRP data earlier, and I thought, I don't know what she just said. What is MRP data? Maybe everybody else knows.
No, so MRP data is very similar to, like, if you're in a material requirements planning, for instance, like it's a control system, inventory and production and scheduling. So oftentimes, particularly in manufacturing, you're going to have systems that are kind of connecting everything for a master schedule, or being able to look at production at a detailed level. And that's what MRP is.
Okay. And also something else that you kind of talked about is the kind of regulatory work. And I think that's the other important aspect as well that's happening about sustainability right now is that many companies and places are responsible for reporting out data to governmental organizations across the globe, and it's important that, whatever you're collecting, the data that you're collecting is in the format that can be ingested by these governmental organizations. I think all of us have operated or worked, the three of us, I believe, in the US have operated, let's say, with the Internal Revenue Service that collects our taxes. And if you send something to them in a slightly different format, they're very quick to inform you, you need to redo everything type thing. So the importance of doing this, and so as a business communicating that information to those regulatory bodies or informs that other groups and organizations that you work with can use is key.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that the biggest focus that we have with some of that reporting, because it can be sensitive to an organization, and it's not an easy lift by any means. I mean, these groups are pulling in so much information, and these standards have certain requirements, and depending upon your framework. And so the groups really and organizations want to make sure that they're reporting accurately, and they're reflecting, because they're marketing their organizations on this. They're putting this out there for investors, for consumers, for the end markets. And so I think that the current state where we're hearing a lot of customers have concern is it manually manipulated today. They're not manually handled. They're collecting it from one place, putting it in another, pulling it from another, pulling it in. And so being able to automate the data intake or that processing, being able to remove touch points that could also reduce the margin of error in the data sets, increasing and enhancing quality. And then pulling that in and processing it, like I mentioned before, to that format that is required. Again, saving time and having teams really be able to focus on more of the mission critical delivery versus kind of this pulling and manipulating the data.
I think that we had two. We talked earlier about the Sustainability Insights Framework, SIF, as one example of a place to help that AWS has put together some information about collecting that, and we'll talk to some customers later about that. But I think that some of the frameworks that we're providing here, Jessica, at AWS, kind of help that idea of collecting the data as well, and also the tools that we're doing to ingest that. One of the examples a customer will give later is how you take that really big Excel spreadsheet and try to ingest it into the system and do something with it. And I'll repeat my jokes from later on in that segment later. But yeah. Anyhow.
We got a lot of great tools, and I know that there's a team member that's going to be sharing a little bit about our Sustainability Insights Framework as well. So if it's accelerators, if it's working with partners, if it's being able to incubate and develop with our customer partners as well, that's the biggest, the most amount of fun that we get to have. We get to assess, develop, deploy, and expand on everything that we're learning throughout this process. And I think that the more that we can, keep having these conversations and finding, incubating new ways of pulling in the data and processing it in a way that is meaningful and impactful and a variety, like being multifaceted, I think that that's going to be a big game changer for a lot of organizations.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't agree more. The kind of like the processing of that and the migration over. So, are there any other areas, Jessica, that I've kind of failed to, or Kyle? I'll blame Kyle on this. That Kyle failed to ask you about that we should have been covering here.
No, I think for us, it's more of just being able to create the visibility of the art of the possible. Being able to leverage sustainability in a technology way is more than, there's more opportunity than migrating and optimizing, which are significant movements. But there is this element of getting, really creative and innovative on how we do it. And so things like, successful circularity and being able to work with the industry drivers and across your enterprise itself, and thinking about, supplier data ingest and having that kind of connective element. That's, I think, a really big takeaway. So if there's, my personal kind of statement is, if there's data that exists, there's something that can really be pulled from it for sustainable metrics and achievements.
All right. Well, on that, I think I just want to thank you for joining us today, dealing with Kyle's bad dad jokes, as well. And
well, I just appreciate that Jessica is here to help us understand how we can become more sustainable, because really the earth, I love it. It keeps me grounded. And we need to understand how we can really take care of it. And it seems like there's a lot of different opportunities for multiple industries out there. And I know even some customers I work with, their security teams are looking to understand how do their security controls impact their workloads, because the security controls are implemented as a baseline across all of their different workloads. And so if they're able to look at how they could become sustainable and reduce, have a minimal impact, they're scaling that impact out too. So there's a lot of cool things going on with sustainability.
There's so much, and it's ever changing. It's constantly moving, shaking, and that's the best part about what we do.
Yeah.
All righty, Jessica, thank you again so much. Folks, stay tuned. We have another awesome topic coming up. And Jessica, if you have any final words, please feel free to say them to our audience. Any references or material that they're able to take a look at, to take back and reference?
Absolutely. So if you go to our, AWS and you go into our sustainability, or you look at our solutions library online, the teams can take a look, or the groups can take a look at what is out there. If you do find the solution area sustainability, it does show some of the solutions that we have worked on with customers, and some of those wonderful case studies as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you again very much for your time today, and happy Earth Day.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful weekend as well.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. Appreciate your time.